So welcome to episode 7 of Gamify 24/7. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Lucky number 7.
Yes, still here, still going on. So yay! We haven't been cancelled yet.
Unfortunately, we don't have Kat, but I'm going to fill in for Kat. So anything we talk about, I'm going to say, I didn't like that. I didn't like that game.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
So Switch, hate it. What Switch?
Yeah, that has been Kat's kind of self-appointed role so far on the podcast, has been to pretty much say no to everything that we've said yes to, but that's fine. So she's not here, so we can say it. And oh, wait a minute, she's going to hear this, isn't she? Okay, so we can't say anymore. So today's episode, we've got lots of stuff to talk about, and I want to start off with something which excites me hugely, and I don't know if it necessarily will excite you guys, but what about the new potential upcoming Nintendo theme parks?
Hi.
Oh, you go.
Excitement. We're just fighting over to say words. Very excited. It's just great to see this like all come to life and all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, yes, because I'm not a fan of Disney and that. So it's like, for me, it's like I've never really had that place I really want to go. But bringing video games into a theme park, I'm like, where do I sign up?
And Anton's going to apply for a job there.
Well, yeah. How did you know that?
Because I'm applying as well. Yeah. Exciting stuff. It's I'll have to wait and see what it's like. You know, I think in our heads we've all got an idea what we'd love a theme park to be like, and I just hope it's not some sort of kind of really childish version of a theme park. I hope it's got some cool stuff for adults as well. If it's too kiddie, it might be a little bit more our demographic. I don't know.
Well, you know, the thing about Universal, obviously, they're looking at Orlando and I think Japan as well. They're doing it. They're doing the Japan thing. The thing about Universal is that it is already, if you've been out to Orlando, Universal is kind of the adult thing out there. Disney tends to be a bit more family orientated, and it's at Universal, you know, you've got groups of adults going there for the day just because they want to have fun, be a big kid, but it's not kid-like in the same way. Even the rides aren't particularly kid-like. I mean, if you've been on the Hulk, for example, terrifying. I did it once, don't think I'll ever manage it again. But I wasn't funnily enough, like Anton, I wasn't particularly a fan of Disney theme parks or the idea of doing Disney until a few years ago, and I went on a big family holiday, and it's like I've sort of reverted back to being a kid again. I suddenly love it as I get older, and Universal for me is just so much fun, and I honestly think that they're going to get this right. I've got high hopes for this, but I think they're going to do it right because they did Universal right. If you go on any of the rides there that are more aimed at kind of, you know, adults coming along to have a fun day out, it is just that. It works for adults, and I think that's where they'll get it right. So when I heard it was Universal that were involved, for me, I think it's going to work. And how exciting to do things like Bowser's Castle or Peach's Castle or the Mario levels. I mean, how awesome could this be potentially?
What's going to happen with the turtles with Mario jumping on them? Is he going to jump on real turtles in real life? What's going to happen? I don't know. And what happens with Charles Martinet? Is he locked up in a cage just doing Mario's voice the whole time? It's me, a Mario!
He's probably a full-time employee from 2020 when this opens, and he'll be on some sort of massive retainer. But in fact, by that point, the virtual reality will come on so much that he'll be able to do it from wherever he is in the world anyway, so it'll be fine. Right. Don't worry about it.
It's surprising how in this day and age that he's not just recorded enough lines anyway, that he never has to do anything in person. They just used all that database of his voices.
They're like, yeah, we need what's that line you say? Hey Mario, yeah, say that again, and then again. Wait. Oh yeah, and again. But the thing I'm quite interested in, besides what they've kind of been talking about, what sort of games would you like to see them bring into the real world? How about yourself, Michael? What sort of games do you want to see?
That is a great question. You know, that's difficult. I would love Road Rash. Does anyone remember Road Rash?
Yes.
So basically, motorbikes, but you get to punch people off them, and you get to hit them with weapons, and then and race to the finish line. Obviously, it's probably a little bit brutal, and I mean, you could probably just do that, but it wouldn't end very well for you in the long run, or anyone that you decided to fight. Other games, I don't know. You know, there's so many games. What would I like to see in the real world? You put me on the spot here.
Metroid.
Yeah.
When you went in and the Metroids and stuff were chasing you, and you got your can, you could go around and you were in a first person view of that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's better staying with a game, I don't know.
Well, it's what's interesting about the question that Anton posed is that we're kind of going through a bit of that at the moment with VR. We're kind of thinking what game would work best in a real environment, and VR is the closest we're getting to it. So the question actually, whilst tongue-in-cheek to a certain point, actually there's a bit of truth in it, because that's probably what most VR developers are doing right now when they're thinking about where they're going to go. They're probably looking at video games and going, that's the kind of thing people want to bring to life. That's the environment people would like to live in. Minecraft would be interesting. The ability to kind of control and change your environment, that would be a lot of fun potentially.
With gigantic Lego bricks.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. What about you, Anton? You asked the question.
In terms of, especially in this deal, I think a Luigi's Mansion haunted house would work really well, and having virtual ghosts and vacuuming them up. I don't know. I think it would work well.
You know, when I was in Atlanta, we went to a place called Netherworld. There was this haunted place where you walk through and all the people jump out, and they've got trained actors jump out on you. And it's really well done. It was much better than I imagined it would actually be. But I can just imagine something like, as you say, Luigi's Mansion done in that style to scare you, and well, maybe humorously scare you. But yeah, going into his lab and stuff, it'd be amazing. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, that would work for me. The Universal Studios, Hollywood Studios, which is the Disney one in Orlando, they have the, what's it called now? It's the one, it's based on...
Resident Evil?
No, it's not a video game. It's the old TV show. Is it not Tales of the Unexpected? Or
Tales of the Crypt or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. It's gone out of my head, and I've been on it so many times. But it's basically you go into a kind of haunted castle, but you end up at Twilight Zone. It's based on the Twilight Zone, and you go up in a lift, and it's really cool because it takes you through the whole thing. You really feel like the lift is in midair, and then you do the big drop thing, and it opens. Oh, it's incredible. Oh yeah, all that. You got it bang on, and that's the thing. I could imagine Luigi's Mansion like that, but with the whole extra added bonus of it being Luigi and everything else that you could bring into it. Because I think I'm with you, Anton. I think it's a great shout, actually.
Yeah. Apparently, it's going to be the one in Japan. Tokyo is going to be ready for the Tokyo Olympics, so that's going to be ready for that apparently in 2020. And it does say that they're going to be expanding, or there's expansions planned in Hollywood and Orlando. So there probably will be one coming to Orlando and stuff. So yeah, awesome stuff. I think it's about time Nintendo started spreading their IP all over the place in a non-weird way.
Saying that, I've had a chance to actually play the new Super Mario Run, and just actually trying that, Nintendo game not made by Nintendo, it's kind of given me hope that they've actually been looking after their IP. It isn't like the 80s when they're making movies and action figures and books that were just done by random people and were dreadful. It's very well done, and it's very Nintendo, so I'm hoping Nintendo's just going to be like cramming their quality assurance down on this Universal project.
Wasn't there something, I don't know if it was a follow-up from... There was something Nintendo did just recently where Nintendo was talking, and they were in... maybe they were talking about this, but Miyamoto was in the theme park, it looked like. And it looked like they had all the settings behind them, so it looked like you could see parts of what the theme park is going to be like. I'm pretty sure that's where it was, because I'm sure it was the boss from Universal was talking there as well. So I think he was sitting in there, but I didn't tell you explicitly that's where it was. But you could see, you're like, oh, maybe that's the theme park. It did look pretty cool. But yeah, it's just interesting how interactive it's going to be. But like going back to the Luigi's Mansion side of things, think of the technology they've got now, where the way they can do like fake ghosts and special effects and everything. That's going to be amazing.
A game that would actually work really well for it, Splatoon.
Yeah.
You don't even need effects.
Yeah, people could get dressed up as Inklings.
Yes, just paint everywhere.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
As long as they have a colorblind mode for me, that would be. I'm up for that completely. All right, so that's the theme park, and I'm very excited. I am due to be going to Orlando in February, so I will give you an up-to-date report on how things are looking over there at the moment, and see if I can find any clues as to what might be appearing in the future Nintendo related. I'll keep my eyes peeled for that. So last week, then, The Last Guardian out on PS4. Have either of you had a chance to have a go?
Yeah, we did a live stream on Friday and Saturday, myself and Connor. So we got in the studio, we played it in the Pro, but we don't have a 4K TV here, so we just played it in the normal TV. I played it in 720p so we could stream it properly. Beautiful looking game, even in 720p on the screen. It looked phenomenal. There was, some of the effects in it were just incredible. The animation on the dog, the AI was, well, I say the dog, on Trico, was incredible. It was really, really well done. Some janky camera stuff where the camera gets stuck when you're in small enclosed areas, and some bits with the ragdoll physics where you grab onto Trico and you were kind of shaking, it was hard to move him and stuff. Sorry, I'm chewing a sweet here. It was hard to sort of kind of control him a little bit when he was climbing up Trico. But yeah, it looked incredible. I thought the game itself, it leaves, there's nothing like collectibles as far as I can see. There's things you can do with the barrels. It seemed like it was really kind of just left to you to do it, and you kind of worked your way through it and just done things and kind of progressed. So it seemed to be going really well. It seemed like it was a really nice game. I think there's been a lot of people having problems on the normal PlayStation 4, where it's they're having frame rate issues and stuff. But we never really experienced any of that, apart from there was about 2 times where there was a tiny drop in frame rate, but it wasn't even anything to affect the gameplay itself. It was between a bit where you're moving or something to jumping up on Trico to a different area. So it was a tiny little drop in frame rate, but yeah, it was fine. It was really, really nice. I think, I don't know how much people are going to enjoy it when they've been waiting 9 years for it or longer. But yeah, it was really good. It was my first time seeing a game by Team Ico. So I was really enjoying it. I was enjoying watching this beautiful game,
So after getting a chance to feel that kind of arty style of gameplay they make, do you see yourself going back and trying out Ico, maybe Shadow of the Colossus, or do you feel like this is an experience on off its own?
Well, see, I'm always I think for me, retro stuff, if I've played something in the past, I think there's that rose tinted glasses that everyone gets. I think if I've played something and really enjoyed it back in the past, I could go back to it and kind of enjoy it because it brings back some memories. But I think if I've never played the game, I think I'd go back to it and be like, that looks rubbish. I wouldn't have that physical or mental bond with the game, so I don't know how much I'd enjoy it. And I think I'd say The Last Guardian, it's probably going to be interesting to see what reviews come out like and what people are saying compared to the other 2 in the series, to see if people prefer the other ones or this one. Because if people prefer this one, I didn't see any reason to go back to those ones, because then they're going to be worse games, looking worse. I've not got a physical bond with them or mental bond with them, so why would I even bother? I don't know. But I think Connor's interested in going back and playing a couple of them, so possibly.
Yeah, and where can people see your live streams, the ones that you did with The Last Guardian? So Connor's part of your team at SmallFryUnify, and where can you get the streams if anyone's listening for the first time or hasn't picked up the address before? Yeah,
they can just jump onto YouTube or Twitch. We're under SmallFryUnify. That's all one word. So it's like small fries coming together, but SmallFryUnify. You can find it there, and it's normally, whenever we post it, we always post it up on Facebook and on the events on Facebook and Google Plus, and on Twitch. We post it there, so it's across all our social media. So whenever we're going live, normally, I think we're going to be changing from a couple of streams a week to just one at the weekend, which will be a Friday or a Saturday. But we've got to confirm the day first. It's probably going to be a Friday, and we're going to have a main stream. So people go in there and you can check the previous ones in the list. So I'm cracking a sweetie here. I've got a throat sweetie. I'm trying to talk with it. Yeah, but you can check there, and we've got previous playthroughs. You can go through and check the games there.
Yeah, and don't worry, Anton, we haven't forgotten that you've been busy and active in the blogging world this week, so we'll
plug time. Yes, I have returned to the internet after a couple months hiatus. I am once again creating over-edited videos and hopefully trying to reboot my channel. So it's going to be new short videos, maybe about 5 minutes-ish. They're going to be over-edited to
He says over-edited. Edited properly or good with fun stuff. That's what you should be saying.
Yes, see, I'm marketing over here. So insane videos, and hopefully more of them are coming out. People seem to be enjoying them so far. If you guys are interested, maybe give it a gander and give feedback. Or
if you want to know why it's important to choose a waistcoat, that's why you'll want to go and check out the first one. So definitely go and check it out.
Yes, waistcoats for life. Find out why.
Absolutely, yeah.
Waistcoat.
I need to get some tips on you for some waistcoats, by the way, but that's for another day. And Anton, just remind us where do we go? What's the name to look up?
It is a show called Vloguccino. It's just take the word vlog, then combine it with cappuccino. Or it's on the channel Deathmaster X7, all one word. The worst named channel on the internet. Subscribe.
Awesome. All right, but very briefly before we move on, back to The Last Guardian then. So it's taken, as we know, 9 years of waiting for those that have really been excited to play it. It's being described, I've seen it described everywhere I look as a flawed masterpiece. That seems to be the way people are looking at it, that it's great, people are really loving it. They're pleasantly surprised, because often with a huge wait like this, we have high expectations and the results aren't always what we expect. Think Alan Wake, for example. And this one, people are saying, yeah, it's great. There are some signs, though, some people are saying that it feels like it was designed for the last generation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, see, I don't know, because again, I'd have to have played the previous games. I'd say the game on a visual, auditory level is this gen. It's amazing. It's next level stuff. It's phenomenal. The camera, yeah, you could say they've maybe got some camera flaws that you'd maybe get back in previous generations. But there's even games nowadays that the camera's messed up. So the fact that it's taken so long, maybe they should have got that right. The frame rate issues, I've not experienced it because I'm playing it on the on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Connor's now finishing the game off on the PlayStation 4, so he will probably mention it if he notices that. But I think that's where a lot of the complaints are coming from. I think people, as you say, Michael, have got a high expectation for this game to be flawless and be perfect after this long wait. So I think them now playing the game and getting frame rate drops, it would be infuriating if you were playing it like that. I've not experienced that, so I can't really comment on it, but we'll probably get feedback from Connor. But yeah, it's like, to me, so far, I think we're about 2/3 through the game. I feel like I'm bonding with the character, I'm bonding with Trico. Even just sitting here watching Connor playing it, I felt like I was bonding, I felt sorry for Trico and stuff, and you felt saddened. So I could see by the end of the game, I don't know what the ending is, but I could see by the end of it, I'd be like, heartstrings getting pulled in some way. So yeah. It's like I'm happy with it. I'm totally happy with it.
Well, I saw a quote in one of the reviews. I think this probably sums it up. It said, will you remember playing the latest incarnation of FIFA, for example, or will you remember playing the latest edition of a game that you get every year, or will you remember your experience of playing The Last Guardian? And basically the whole idea is that of course you're going to remember it because it is unique, it's different, and it's well worth a look. It's out on the PlayStation 4, came out 3 days ago, the 9th of December it came out, so yeah, you would recommend people check it out?
I'd definitely recommend it if you've got a PlayStation 4 Pro. Can't really comment on the PlayStation 4, but I definitely recommend it, trying it, and I'm sure they'll patch any frame rate issues over time. If it is that bad, I'm sure they'll fix it at some stage. You know, maybe people can wait for a patch and maybe get it cheaper as well.
All right, let's move on then, and we're going to talk about GameCube games because of the wonderful things the Nintendo Switch does potentially.
Because of the wonderful things that it does do.
Diddly. So, Shaun, what's the scoop on this? The Switch, is it going to have GameCube compatibility?
Well, yeah, I think there's been rumours about a billion different things what this console is going to do, and one of the things everyone was hoping for with the Wii U was that we would get GameCube games. It's the only format that's not come out in the Wii Virtual Console, in the Virtual Console so far. So I think people have been waiting for it because there were some amazing games on the GameCube, and you know, the only way really to play them is if you've got a Wii or a GameCube itself. So there's a lot of gamers coming into it, or gamers for beyond the years are looking to get back into some GameCube games. The Wii couldn't do it because it never had that analog triggers, so you'd have to get different controllers. It was a bit of a nightmare. But yes, the rumour is that apparently there's games, they've already got it working, it's ready to rock and roll. They've got a bunch of games ready to go for launch with the GameCube stuff. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if they're going to do it as you can upgrade, or you get it for $10, $20, or if I'd like Nintendo to do something. I was talking to some guy about this today at work, and we were talking about how could Nintendo approach it with the virtual console, and I'd still really like Nintendo. I know some people will say I'm crazy for this idea. I want Nintendo to get on board with a subscription service, pay something like £50 a year, like the Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or PlayStation Plus or whatever it is. Anyway, and have something where you pay £40, £50 a year, the price of a game essentially, and you get access to every single Nintendo game that they've made from all their consoles up until maybe the Wii U, so maybe up to the Wii. Maybe not the Wii U because that's not probably powerful enough to do it, and you've not got the disc drive or whatever. But every other game, Xbox, Game Boy, Virtual Boy, Wii, SNES, NES, all those games, GameCube included, and you just pay £50 a year and you can play those games as long as you're subscribing, and you get access to them for as long as you want. None of this £2 tier, £10 tier, all this kind of stuff, because I think people are fed up now of paying £5 every single console for a new version. Just give us it and let's play it.
Kind of maybe going in the kind of similar vein of like EA Access, where you get this, you get the library, maybe get early trials to new Nintendo games, like get Breath of the Wild, get first hour for free.
Imagine how well that would do for £40. I'd be all over that, and it's one of these things. I keep saying, like, there's loads of retro games that I think we're all aware that you can get emulators online on your PC or whatever, and it's so easy to do nowadays, and you get really good emulators that emulate them really, really well. And I'm not advocating that to anyone else to go in there and do it. That's just my personal opinion. But the reason why I think like that is because I didn't want to keep forking out £2 or £5 or £20 for a game. I like, once I've bought it once, that's me thinking that's me got it for life, essentially, until I sell it or get rid of it. So I think having a subscription service like that, like EA Access, as you're saying, that'd be amazing. I'd pay £40. Nintendo would get that instantly. They'd make £50 from me more than they'll ever get by not doing it. And I think there's millions of gamers who do that. Xbox and PlayStation fans would be all over that virtual console if it was £50 to get access to all their games.
I think it's. I think that's a good idea. I think the thing for me is that, as someone who does like to collect retro games from time to time, I don't think it would affect the average retro collector in any way, because, as you say, you can access all these games legally or by other means anyway and play them, and when you're collecting isn't necessarily about getting the games to play them. It's about the buzz of collecting, getting something that's a bit rare, getting something that's maybe a mint condition that you'd never had before, or still in a seal, that kind of stuff. And I don't think that would have a negative effect. So I see very little. I think the problem they're going to run into, I guess, is licenses and people and people being greedy and deciding that they want their bigger cut of the pie. And I think that's where there might be potential problems. But in theory, I think it's a great idea, and I think I would certainly buy into it.
Yeah, I think, as you say, like retro stuff, collecting it. Yeah, there's people can go and get those like physical versions, and any games that have got a licensing issue. Oh well, whatever, we miss it in a few games, people can go out and buy those ones physically. But I'm pretty sure, like I'm just making up a figure here in my head, 90% of Nintendo games must be owned by Nintendo, and they can put whatever they want on. But they could then start adding services like they did with the Wii. You can start saying, right, the virtual console is, let's say, £40 a year to have it, but if you want Mega Drive, you add a £5 on. If you want TurboGrafx or whatever, you add a couple of quid on or whatever. And so maybe you pay like a bit more for each console you want to add. Honestly, when the virtual console first came out, I was like, please bring out Dreamcast, because they started bringing out Mega Drive and stuff. And I thought, oh my god, if we get Dreamcast, it'd be just the best ever. So I'd pay like 20 quid for a Dreamcast one on it. Just get in there, £40 for Nintendo stuff, or even less, and add like £10 for each console or £20 for each console, and you get access to the back catalogue. People will pay it, they'll make millions of it, millions.
I've taken a small step back, talking about having GameCube games on the Switch. That's very interesting, because the GameCube uses the same architecture as the Wii and as the Wii U. So with the GameCube compatibility, does suggest that porting Wii U and Wii games is going to be very easy, and that's going to be very good for getting games onto the system.
Does the Wii U use the same architecture? I know it was like they had the actual separate chip in the Wii U for the Wii stuff. It was like, and that's why you had the problems where if you wanted to play a Wii game, you had to switch over to the Wii console side of it. So I think it's on a separate thing, but maybe it is the same architecture. Maybe, I don't know.
I may be wrong. I definitely know the Wii's on the same architecture because it's just a slightly faster clock speed. But anyway, even then, good compatibility. You could maybe even go forward with Wii games or an M over, because a lot of games, let's say Donkey Kong Country Returns, people would buy that in droves.
Well, isn't there people who have already ported and got emulators running for GameCube, Wii, and I think even they've even started getting Wii U stuff emulated now on CMU or whatever it's called. It's an emulator, but I don't know if they've ported all of them over. I know they've ported some of them over to the Tegra, the NVIDIA Shield. People have done the emulators on that. So they've got a lot of this stuff working, and a lot of them have got stuff working with better resolutions and better graphics. So there's no reason why Nintendo can't do that. And it makes me think, is this why Nintendo's gone with NVIDIA? Because they have got all these options now to bring in emulators officially and get stuff done running really, really smoothly and port these games over. And if Nintendo does that, then that's it, they've won it. They've won it straight away. This is them back in the game. I just hope that Kimishima is this forward thinking on a business level, you know?
Yeah, I think it would be great. And I think you've got a point with the NVIDIA stuff as well, that perhaps that is part of their thinking, is accessibility, or even just making it easier for them to make decisions like that. But time will tell. I think that there's potential for that. I think that, as I say, the biggest problem is going to be the license tie-in problem that you're going to find. But, you know, there's ways around that. So fingers crossed for the £50 a year subscription. That'd be great. The price point sounds good too. I'm up for that. All right, let's move on. Anton, you just before we decided on what we were going to talk about today, you came up with this great idea of talking about movie tie-ins and games. Can I just remind you of Street Fighter, the movie? Do you remember with Kylie Minogue? Was it Kylie Minogue was in it?
And Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Fighting video games turned into movies haven't had the best history, have they?
Terrible.
Yeah, we've got Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was cool.
It was so bad it was good, maybe. I'll give it that. We had two of those. We had a Tekken movie. Let's not even talk about that.
I've not seen that one.
And obviously Street Fighter. So I think that's not the best genre, but saying that these days, the kind of idea I was wanting to talk about, we're getting more video game movies again.
Oh, before you move on and talk a bit more about this, I'm interrupting you. I'm being incredibly rude. I'm just now having second thoughts as to which one Kylie Minogue was in, because was it Street Fighter or was it Mortal Kombat? I'm going to have to...
it was Street Fighter. Street Fighter, she played Cammy, and Jean-Claude Van Damme played Guile.
Right, that's right. Yeah, for a second there, when you started talking about the Mortal Kombat movie, flashbacks to being a kid and these movies coming out, and it just completely threw me as to which one was which.
It did have the ever awesome Christopher Lambert playing what's his name, Shang Tsung. It's like a white guy playing like a Chinese guy. What the hell?
Yeah, things that you might not get away with quite so easily if you were to do the same thing now. Sorry, Anton, carry on. You were in the middle of an interesting conversation.
So yeah, we're starting to get more video game movies. We've got Uncharted coming along. We've got the Sonic movie coming along.
True.
Apparently there's a Last of Us movie in the pipeline.
Pixels.
Oh yeah, everybody's favourite. So, in your guys' opinion, why do you think we're starting to see more of these sort of video game movies come back? We had a bunch of them before and then they kind of died off, and they seem to be making a resurgence. So what do you think, Michael?
Okay, so repeat the question, because I missed half of it because I wasn't paying attention. It blew his mind that there was these games coming.
Corrupted.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we're starting to see more video game movies coming along. Why do you think this sort of is now? Why isn't this something we had 5 years ago?
I think simply it's technology. I think we're at the stage now where if you were to have a movie based on some of the video games that we had 10 years ago, I think that the technology, whilst good in terms of what we can do with a movie, it's come on so much in the last 10 years that if you take what is possible in a video game and animation, I feel that now we can kind of almost match that with a real life movie. And I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think as it's got better, it's become more of a realistic prospect. Having said that, there's no reason why there couldn't have been movies like Halo. Halo, for example, could have worked. You could have done that 10 years ago without a problem as a movie. I think as well, video games have become more mainstream, and I think that that's a big part of it too. I think in the last 10 years, when you look at the development from we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but the Nintendo moment of 2005 or whatever, when we had that consciousness of the general public with video games for the first time in a different way. I think since then that's grown, and VR is possibly taking that and moving it on to a new level, or potentially could do anyway. And I think that there's more of an acceptance now as video games being part of mainstream. Whilst we're still a long way to go, I think that's part of the reason that movies now are becoming more of a popular idea. Look at the what was the one recently, Ratchet and Clank. They did the movie and the video game together. Now technology works both ways. So as a cartoon, Ratchet and Clank would have been great 15 years ago. As a video game, it's great, but it didn't look the same as the movie would. Whereas now they look pretty much indistinguishable at a lot of the parts of the game anyway. I mean, some of the gameplay not so much, but it's a lot closer now in terms of technology between the two, and I think that's really had a big part to play, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's like you're saying. I think in conjunction with that, if you go back, like even for you, me, Michael, for instance, you go back 10 years, we were in our mid-20s or whatever. You know, I think disposable incomes, if you actually probably looked at a statistical figures of who's got the disposable income, who's got more for doing things like movies, buying DVDs, it's probably kind of mid-20s and upwards. As you start getting a job and you've been working there, you start buying things, so that money starts becoming more disposable. People start buying games, and I think back then there just wasn't that many things there to buy, and I think now as the technology's got better, now guys like us who have grown up, and yourself even, Anton, us growing up now with video games for a long time, now we have got this disposable income, and the films are there to watch, so we're all over them.
And that's another good point. The guys and the girls that are making movies these days are the guys and girls that grew up with video games, and I think that our influences have changed. I mean, if you look at 20 years ago, the movies that were being made, 9 times out of 10 would have been influenced by the stuff we read, or by the stuff that the filmmakers were seeing somewhere else. But now I think that the video games have such a bigger influence on society that I think even the people making the movies are influenced by what they're seeing. So for me, I think that's a big part of it. I think it's just become, it's almost like our generation is the first generation to have grown up with video games as a normal part of day-to-day life, and before that it was something new, whereas now it's becoming kind of just part of everybody's sort of, everybody that's growing up, it's there,
Yeah. Well, think about something like The Social Network. Like, I know that's not a video game, but if you said to someone 20 years ago, we're going to make a video game about social networks, people would be like, are you mental? But then social networks, Facebook specifically, became so popular, started hitting, like, it's close to 1 billion, it's almost 2 billion now, but at the time it was like hitting like 1 billion users or thereabouts. It was just massive. So when someone came up and said, we're making a film in it, I was like, people were like, it's still a bit weird, and then it turned out to be a great film, the Social Network. So I think just that stuff becomes more and more acceptable. I think along with your technology thing, Michael, as well, motion capture, since Avatar, which was, what was that, 10 years ago, maybe longer, I don't know. But since Avatar, James Cameron pushed that technology, and he said he was waiting the whole time for it to get to a stage where he could use it for that. But that technology where you can now film live as you're doing the motion capture, so you can capture that for game or for film, instead of having to do a bit of motion capture, go away, animate it, put the textures on it, but it would take weeks and weeks. Now they're doing it real time. And I think that's what happened in Avatar. I think that was one of the first films ever to do it. If you go and look at some of the behind the scenes footage, they've actually got the head trackers on, and they're watching it live, and they've got the skin of the character. Even though it's a low res one, they're watching the character move with a low res model, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. So that's now much more accessible, and video games are now using that technology, and they're doing it hand in hand at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you've got games like Until Dawn where you have proper well-known actors playing the parts of characters that you have some control over. It's not that 10 years ago, Until Dawn would have been unrealistic, I think. They did a great job with that game. If you think back 20 years, and you'll remember this, Shaun, Mega CD was big on this. Do you remember the
first-person video stuff? Yeah.
That's right, yeah, and it became a real thing in the 90s to have these cutscenes with real people and actors playing the part, and then you could choose the next, and the scene would depend on what you chose. And it didn't quite work. It was a great idea, It was just badly executed because of the technology. And I think the fact now is that we have the technology, and it means that there's so much more potential. Let's not kid ourselves. There's another big reason, and it's capitalism. We can make so much money from the idea of a big tie-in with a movie, because we can then sell it as a video game that people can have a real interest in, and that can then extend to VR. So I think there's a bit of that too. Yeah,
definitely. Money's the guiding factor.
As well as that, to a degree, you can almost look at some of these movies, like the Assassin's Creed film. How they pitched it is as an advertisement for the video game. They're taking this film audience, and then they're like, hey, there's tons of these if you like it.
I think
absolutely.
Going with that, with the Assassin's Creed, I just finished watching Westworld last night, and again, it's not a video game, but people thought it was kind of based on Grand Theft Auto kind of ideas. I think now you're seeing as well, if you went back 10, 15 years ago, the people involved with video games for voiceovers or even motion capture were unknown people. Now you've got Anthony Hopkins, you've got Michael Fassbender, you've got big actors now moving into stuff like TV that they would never touch before. They only touch big movies. So they're in TV, they're getting involved in games. Some of the biggest games on like the planet, Call of Duty and stuff like that now, that's all big named actors now doing the main parts. So I think that's opened it up as well. It's like they're getting these guys in, and now as a result of that, it's like a what's the word, where you do something, it catches it and follows it anyway, whatever. But you've got now the companies are spending so much money on getting these big actors in. Now they want to put more into marketing it and getting it out there to make it a success. So it's kind of like they're kind of the chicken and eggs like thing, but they're pushing it forward.
Well, you look at Mr. Robot, for example, on Amazon. Mr. Robot, which I don't know if any of you guys have seen any of it, but
brilliant, it's amazing,
awesome.
It's really, really, really good. But the main actor in that is one of the actors
from Malik. I forgot his first name.
That's right. Yeah, I forget his name. Malik. You're right. He was in Until Dawn. He was one of the characters in Until Dawn.
I thought it was Psycho, and it was brilliant.
And he also did the Need for Speed movie.
Did he?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, he's tying it all around.
I know. It's all just come full circle. Right, before we move on, I've got some titles here of some classic movies that were originally video games and then they made a movie. So I'm going to run through them, and you're going to just quickly tell me if you've seen them. And if you have seen them, you can just give me a very quick score out of 10. Okay, so I'm going to go through them. First of all, Warcraft.
I've not seen it yet.
Not seen it.
But I know.
Okay,
I know the guy in it. The guy from Vikings.
Right. Okay. Well, I haven't seen it, so we can't score it. Street Fighter.
Yes.
No.
It was a long time ago though, so I can't even recall if it was good. The animated version's about 1 billion times better. Anyway.
Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Wasn't there a couple of them though?
There's 2.
Yeah. We all know why we watched that.
Super Mario Brothers.
Greatest film ever, 10 out of 10, amazing. Bob Hoskins, bless his soul, best.
Haven't seen it, but I don't think I'm worthy.
I think it's classed as like one of the worst game movies ever.
I think it's probably a 1.5 out of 10 for me, but you know, I still watch it. Still
is that
great.
10 out of 10? 10 out of 10, maybe?
No. There's a 1 in there, but
that film is the E.T. of films, of E.T. of video games.
Yeah,
almost
it is.
Every game movie afterwards. Anyway,
and I think they probably should bury it somewhere in a desert or something, right? Oh, poor Bob, right? And what else have we got? We've got Ratchet and Clank. Have you seen the movie?
Not seen it yet.
No, but really want to. It looks good. Oh, big fan.
Love the game. I think the criticism of the movie, and I haven't seen it, was that if you play the game, it's kind of similar, and you're not getting an awful lot extra. It's kind of like the less interactive version of the game is really the idea, but it is very good apparently, and the humor is great. Just like in the game, the humor is really, really good. There's a movie called Ace Attorney. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. No. Objection!
Very good, very good.
I saw the artwork for it, and I was like, that looks horrible. Yeah. Who knows? It's probably like an Oscar-winning masterpiece.
Those hairdos, they're just incredible. It looks horrible. It wasn't a film. Shibata, the Nintendo guy for Nintendo Europe, when they announced it on the 3DS a couple of years ago, and he actually got dressed up as one of the characters, and he announced the game, he went, "Objection!" Brilliant. Get him in a film.
Right, I'm going to give you 2 more, and there's quite a lot. There's a lot more than I'd expected. Double Dragon.
Oh no, I've never seen that. I think I've heard about it, but I've never seen it.
I didn't
came out in 1994. So I've never seen it, but it's right at that time where there was a lot of sort of Van Damme style films. I don't think Van Damme's in this one. It's I think it was more like a kind of, I wouldn't say probably double Z list celebrity type movie. So I'll give you one more. We have 2016, so I don't think this is out yet. Sly Cooper.
It is out. Though there was a film getting made for that.
I heard about that. I just didn't know it was coming out. Wow, that's going under the radar.
I'm trying to figure out whether it's out. I don't think so. It's based on Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, the 2002 game. So
I am a big fan of raccoons. I like raccoons. So.
Well, it's not. I'm trying to kind of get. It says set for release in 2016. They better get a move on if it's coming out this year because there's not long left. It doesn't really say. It was set for a theatrical release this year. I haven't seen much on this. I'm going to be honest, and maybe I've just missed it.
Maybe someone stole it.
Maybe the Thievius Raccoonus strikes back and all that. I don't know, but interesting anyway. Might have to go and check that out. So. Yeah, great topic, Anton. Movie tie-ins.
Michael, sorry, what's your favourite game movie of all time?
I'm trying to decide here. I'm going to have to go with Super Mario Brothers. I'm sorry, I can't see past Super Mario Brothers for how terrible it is and how brilliant it is all at once. You know,
Anton.
Interesting one. It's the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. From
what?
Yeah, it's the first one.
Really?
Yeah, they've made one of them. It was an animated one. It was really good. It's classic Sonic, and it's the only time we've had like a classic Sonic voiced over, and it's got that 90s like I'm edgy.
Was there a live action film though? Any live action films you've seen?
They're making one.
Of Sonic?
Yep, next year they're making a Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Wow.
And the director, same guy who did Deadpool and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Maybe alright then.
I'm thinking special effects from Scott Pilgrim with self-referential humour from Deadpool. Could be a good movie.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Awesome.
What have I seen? I can't even recall. You know, it's maybe the other way around. I'm allowed to go what games based off a film? No, doesn't matter. I'll have to think about it.
No, because that's cheating. That's a whole different conversation, and there's a huge conversation as to how bad the games tie-ins are from movies as well. So
Resident Evil. There you go.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's reasonably fair. Okay, moving on. Retro section this week, and it's my turn, so I'm very excited.
It's just going to be you've bought the thing that Anton told you to buy.
No. This week, actually, it's am I allowed? I'm going to ask your permission on this. If I half the time on each, can I do two?
Yeah.
Okay, Football Manager 2003 and 4. It's going to happen. Hype. Sitting on the edge of my seat. Go on.
So first of all, there's a game where you play as a manager, and it's football related. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Right, so
I just thought it was serious.
I was like, the blood was
freaking you out.
He's trying to like it.
Okay. Two games. First of all, one game that I've actually picked up for my 2DS, but it's a DS game, and it's Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars.
I think I had a quick shot of it. That's kind of more in the style of the original Grand Theft Auto 3, isn't it? Or Grand Theft Auto, sorry. The top
Grand Theft Auto, Grand Theft Auto 2 and the London game as well. It's that style of the early PC games which were really, really popular in the mid to late 90s. Now, Chinatown Wars came out in the DS first in March 2009. I bought it on release day. I was very excited because I love Grand Theft Auto, but particularly liked the idea of the retro feel of it. And I played it fairly regularly on the DS. I then went and bought the PlayStation, the PSP version in October of that year, just when that came out, and played it on there. There's a difference. The PSP version is definitely superior to the DS version, but what is incredible about the DS version is this is a game that you can pack in hours and hours into, and there's side missions just much like the Big Brother versions of GTA. It's really, really well animated. It still looks beautiful. I was playing it this week. It's still great to play. It's got a great view because it means that you can see what's going on. You feel like you're part of this world, but it's not got that clunkiness of when you try and port something which isn't designed for a handheld from one of the big brothers. And I think that's what's really clever about this on a DS particularly. It's really pushing the DS to its maximum limits, or it certainly was when it came out. The storyline is great. It's one of my favourite Grand Theft Auto storylines. It's all about a guy who comes over to America and ends up getting into all these kind of difficult, the usual kind of GTA thing, but he's put in difficult spots. But there's a real twist really near the start when someone you don't expect to dies without giving too much away, and it's a great story, and there's a lot of fun to be had in the game. And if you like retro games, if you like the old school 8-bit era, then it's a bit like that, but just nicer, smoother. What's really cool is the car aligns to the road for you. Now, I know that sounds like a little thing, but when you're driving in this 2D kind of world, of just slightly 3D world, having the car stick to the center of the road while you drive is hugely helpful when you're trying to work on a small screen. So little things like that they thought of. There's a couple of interactive things which I can take or leave, but it's kind of cool. And overall, it's a game that you can pick it up for maybe a tenner on eBay. They don't go that cheap, but you can get them for about a tenner. And it just gives you hours and hours of Grand Theft Auto fun on a small scale. So that's the first one I was going to recommend today. And I know it's not old, but it's now 7-8 years old, so that'll be my first one.
Cool. Is like a big part of that with a touchscreen? Like I presume you can do a touchscreen.
Yeah, there's bits that they have. You have very early on. It makes you do the touchscreen thing, and you start to think, "Oh, is this all going to be touchscreen GTA?" Which I wouldn't have been a fan of, but it does it tastefully. It's just got the odd bit here and there where you need to do it. When you hotwire a car, for example, you need to use the touchscreen to do that, which is very cool. And it genuinely is a very, very good story. There's you've got a really helpful PDA in it so that you can organize. You get your emails through it, you get your calls through it, you get your deals you can do through that. It's just a very clever way. They've done an incredible amount of detail in such a small scale. So for me, if you have a DS or a 3DS or a 2DS, pick it up and have a go. If you're a fan of GTA and you can see past the fact that it doesn't look like GTA as we know it over the last 15 years, go and get a copy of it and just enjoy it for what it is. And
unless the Switch fixes this, it's the only Grand Theft Auto game on a Nintendo console, isn't it? As far as I'm aware of.
I think you're right.
I think so.
There was one on the Game Boy Advance.
Was it?
It was Grand Theft Auto by itself.
Right. Yes,
I've
you're
not tried
right.
it myself, but there we go. Contributed.
Yeah,
that.
this is I played the original Grand Theft Autos in the 90s, and this is hugely superior to those games, and that's even taking into account how incredible those games were. Having never seen anything like it at the time, this is still a superior game. It's a really, really good game in my opinion, and I just love the storyline of it. You get immersed in it, and it's a game that you want to you don't want to put it down when you pick it up. So I had to go the other day for the first time in years, thinking, how badly is this going to age? It's playing this on a more advanced console than I played it the last time. Obviously, it's a 2DS, not a DS. Still looks great and still plays great. So that's the first one I was going to talk about today. Secondly, a little bit of a similar theme, but when you mentioned the GameCube earlier on, I had this memory of probably the game I played the most on the GameCube, and it was The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh yes, the greatest game on the planet.
So the first thing is, I grew up playing Simpsons games on the Super Nintendo, on the Mega Drive, and they were awful. Terrible games, far too difficult, huge difficulty curve, massive, just not great games, but they looked amazing because it had the Simpsons characters. And as a kid, you wanted to play a Simpsons game that was good, and we never quite got it. This came out, and I must admit, when it came out, I gave it little or no attention because it was a Simpsons game, and I just assumed it would be crap like the rest of them. But I have to say, Simpsons Hit and Run is so much fun, and if you like a little bit of GTA style game, that kind of theme, then it is pretty much like GTA in Simpsons style. But there's some really fun animated bits that they've done, which they have aged not that well, I would say. But as a game, it still looks great. It's just the cutscenes that are a wee bit they're a wee bit old school looking now from it. But as a game, it's great, and there's lots of side missions that you can do. The driving's really cool. It's very responsive. It plays well. You can get it. It came out on the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the GameCube, and also on Windows as well in 2003. I played the GameCube version probably the most, and then latterly I played the PlayStation 2 version too. As well, not 2, and it's sold well. I think it sold 3 million copies, and it won some pretty decent awards, and it took a lot of people by surprise. So it's the Simpsons hit and run. If you're a fan of the Simpsons and you like video games, it's a no-brainer, really.
No.
Yeah, I've got to attest to that. I looked at it and I was like, I wasn't really looking for much. I was like, oh, it's a Grand Theft Auto 3 clone. How good can it be? It's a TV show tie-in. It's probably garbage, but no, it is literally really good. I went back and played it recently. It is aged incredibly well. I don't know why there's not a remaster, because it's just shell shaded, so it doesn't look bad.
Who made it?
It was published by Vivendi Universal Games, but Radical did the development for it.
Is Radical away now? Are they closed now?
I'm not sure. I don't know. To be honest, that time there were lots of names that then changed to other companies, so I don't know whether they've become someone else. If you guys talk amongst yourself and give me 10 seconds, I'll tell you.
Well, whoever made it, make a sequel.
Not even that, just like remaster
Remaster.
Yeah. I've got to agree with Anton. I actually think that if they remastered this and brought it out, much like the kind of Ratchet and Clank style of remastering, just update it. It doesn't need much. The cutscenes are probably the biggest thing that need changed, because they're the hardest to recreate at the time in terms of what they were doing. It's a great game, and it still looks brilliant today. Honestly, if you've got a GameCube and you can find a copy of this game, have a go. Maybe it is really, really good.
Maybe a remaster for the Switch.
Yeah, because the thing is, because it's cel-shaded, you don't need to update textures. It's like Wind Waker almost.
Yeah.
It's like you just sharpen it up, maybe change the lighting a little, make it widescreen. And the thing is, like, the level design, how the missions are laid out, it's very like concise. It isn't like drawn out like many open world games at the time, so it feels up to date and quick paced.
Cool.
And that's one of the attractions of it, the fact that it is quite concise. You can get to where you're going quite easily. It's all recognizable because of the show. And it's just a great, great fun game. And it's also one that you can play with anyone. Like, you can play it with kids, you can play it with your nephew, you can play it with your mom and dad if you wanted to. I mean, it is really just a game that everyone can have a go at. The company Radical Entertainment were actually owned, and they were a subsidiary of Activision. So I think as the studio themselves, I don't think they're doing anything at the moment. They had big layoffs a few years ago according to this, and but I think that a lot of the team have gone on and worked on other Activision titles, so that's where it came from. But really, really good game, and for me, one of the biggest surprises of video games that I've ever come across.
Cool.
You're just like, I don't know. Maybe who knows.
Honestly, Shaun, like I would say to you, go on YouTube and have a look at the game itself in play, and I will be surprised if you're not impressed with it.
I think it's a bit harsh though to call me a tube. Oh. Go on YouTube.
Hey, go on YouTube.
Come on, I'm just saying I've not played it.
Abuse.
On that slightly insulting note, I think that's it for this week. It's been fun, but it's been weird without Kat. We've had far too little negativity.
I know. Sorry. Can I add on one last thing? Can you what? Sorry. Add on one last thing.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I was going to mention the Jimmy Fallon show.
Oh right, yeah. So you said something. Now, see, this is me in old age playing a trick. But you mentioned you mentioned Jimmy Fallon at the start before we started the show, and I was going to ask you about it. So tell me, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. So Jimmy Fallon was doing a reveal of Super Mario Run. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
With what's his face?
Reggie Fils-Aimé?
Yeah, Reggie Fils-Aimé. I always get his name wrong. But anyway, he was doing a reveal on that, so they were showing it on the mobile device on the iOS, and Miyamoto was in the audience. A couple of things came from this. First thing, his t-shirt was like a Samurai Mario, and people aren't sure if that's to do with the new Mario game or Super Mario Run or something else. Anyway, that was pretty cool. They showed off Super Mario Run, which looked quite cool on the phone. Looked like he was doing it with one hand. But then they showed the Nintendo Switch. And we've seen the trailer, and then it was revealed afterwards that the footage they were showing on it was superimposed. But this was the first time I actually saw it running properly. After them showing Breath of the Wild running on the Wii U, people were all moaning about the frame rates and saying it was looking terrible, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this was the first time we've seen it running on the Switch, and it looked like it was really smooth. Like a big giant screen, it looked really nice, looked a bit graphically improved, slightly. But then he took it and had it switched to the Switch screen, the handheld part, and he was playing it on that. And they were still kind of coy about doing anything with the screen, so I'm still pretty sure there's a touchscreen, but they weren't want to show it or anything. But yeah, just seeing it running on that, and it looked pretty smooth. The frame looked fine, but just seeing the console in his hand, seeing it working, wow, it looks really nice, really, really nice.
And the thing that was quite good to see is they were showing it at different angles, and the viewing angles were perfectly fine. Like, you know, when you get some like cheaper screens that Nintendo's typically use, you put them at an angle and it's like you can barely see them, or like with old phones, you put them at an angle, you can't see them. The viewing angles looked great, and as well as that, it's the best look that we've actually had at the console. And compared to the original reveal trailers, there's actually differences. Like, for example, they've thrown on some new logos. We've actually seen the charger now.
The charger, USB-C charger. Well, like it looks like it's pretty much confirmed with that. But the logo you're seeing at the back, that logo as well, some people were saying, even though the 3DS is a little bit different, we're saying normally that logo is never shown on anything unless it's a global market. So the fact that they put that CE on the back, it was almost like they were confirming that it's going to be region free, because that's normally never on stuff like that. However, the 3DS doesn't have it. It might have it somewhere, maybe hidden, but nobody's seen it on the 3DS. So the fact that the 3DS is region free as well makes you then wonder, I don't know. But all the other consoles that have got like region free stuff have got that logo on it. So yeah.
Interesting. Region free, that would be great. I hope that is something that happens. And yeah, it's funny the places that you find out the latest information, isn't it? Jimmy Fallon. Who'd have thought we'd been talking about Jimmy Fallon at the end of the podcast?
He is a total gaming nerd though.
Yeah,
absolutely. I've heard that. Yeah, and I also think he's very funny. I actually think he's very entertaining. You know, so that's a good thing, and it doesn't always happen with mainstream people. Right. Okay. That is it for episode. What are we on now? 7. Episode 7.
Wow. Lucky 7.
7 heaven 7.
You have
whatever
to put that
it is
in the picture. A lucky 7 somewhere.
Yes.
Lucky number 7, or
well,
7,
leprechaun
or
in the corner.
Yeah, we'll hide the 7. You have to find the 7.
Well, we're starting to go off on a slight tangent, so I think we'll leave it at that. We'll go off on our own tangent and let everyone else listen to the sensible bits. Thank you very much. As I said, it's been a bit strange without Kat, but she'll be back soon. And I think she's just, she's just busy. She's too many games to play. She's maybe finally found that moment for Dishonored 2. That's where she is, right?
The mask has finally found a face.
Cool.
The wind was right. Right, listen, guys, thank you very much. We will be back for another episode very soon. Thank you very much, guys, and have a lovely evening.
Goodbye.
Bye.